guys? Welcome back to Rolling with Tough. It's been about a week or so since I posted my last video or episode, whatever you want to call it. So I wanted to jump on, let you guys know what's going on. I had kind of a rough week there right after I made that last video. Was coming off a couple loads that had forced some delays. The loads weren't ready. One had been rescheduled and one canceled altogether. So after I delivered that load in Minnesota, I booked a short run back over to Green Bay and took a couple days off, went home, got my head right, and then came back out a few days later. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today. So if you decide that this is the route you want to go, you lease your truck through FSI, you lease on with Schneider, you're running the all-in rate board or air board, you're going to run into that from time to time. Now, I've been doing this for the last 13 months with Schneider through SFI, and I've never run into a situation where I've had multiple loads that just weren't right. Either information was bad, or they canceled, or they rescheduled. So that's the first time I've had multiple loads do that. So I wanted to touch base with you guys and let you know that when stuff like that does happen, you can recover, you can salvage that week. So obviously, when I delivered in Minnesota, I delivered Tuesday morning, so I didn't have a whole lot on my settlement statement for that week when I booked that load back to Green Bay and decided to take some time off. Prior to that happening, I had a great load, took me down into Florida, deeper into Florida than I typically like to go, just because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get yourself out unless you got a great load going in and you can kind of offset the deadhead miles coming out. Which I did. I had a really, really good load. Dropped that one off, did my 10-hour break. I hadn't booked anything at that point. A lot of times when I'm running into a market that's kind of scarce as far as stuff coming out, what I'll do is I won't book anything until right before I'm ready to get out of that market. It just seems like in those markets, midway down Florida, southern Florida, southern Texas, or southeastern Texas, it just seems like you're better off waiting and booking a load day of or day before. Seems like the rates tend to be a little bit better, just because they need to get that one moved and it hasn't been sitting on the board for 4 or 5 days. Guys haven't been looking at it. Guys already have plans made. So when I go into a market like that, I generally try not to have anything booked after that, so that I can just kind of take the best load that gets me out of that market, and then I'll work my way into another market. Obviously, a lot of guys, they won't go into those markets unless they've got a plan to get out. There's no wrong way to do it. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I should say there's no right way to do it. There is most definitely a wrong way to do it, and we've all done it that way, and it's going to vary for everybody. Sorry, the weather's a little rough. My allergies are kind of kicking my butt. Anyway, so what I ended up doing is I booked the load the night before, after I had delivered in Florida. I went to go pick it up, and when I got there, they told me that load had been rescheduled. I was a little irritated because it was about a 320 miles of deadhead. And I had only booked it about 14 hours prior to that. So I was a little frustrated that they even would have put it up there if they knew it was going to be rescheduled. Had it been rescheduled for the following morning, or 6-8 hours, something like that, it would have been one thing. But they were talking about 4 to 5 days. So obviously you had to have that load pulled off, and then scramble, try to find something else. What I ended up doing is I took the absolute best paying load, rate per mile, within a 500 mile radius, just to get out of that market. Required another 200 miles of deadhead. But that got me up into Alabama, and from there I was able to run back up into Ohio, which is kind of my bread and butter. I spent a lot of time in Ohio, Indiana, southern Michigan, western PA, Kentucky, Tennessee, some Missouri stuff, some Iowa stuff, and in Illinois. Obviously, that's just kind of my wheelhouse. That's where I've been running, and I seem to be doing pretty well with that. So I booked that load in Alabama. By the time I got up there, I'm starting to run a little low on my hours. I was a little worried that if there was any delay with getting loaded, I was going to end up having to sleep there. And sure enough, that's what happened. It's a nice big wide window, but it's first come, first serve. So when I got up there, there were 14 or 15 trucks waiting to get loaded. I don't know if they were short staffed. That would be my guess. I have picked up there before, and it wasn't that bad. There was usually 3 or 4 trucks, but yeah. So I ended up sitting there for about 4 hours or so before I could even get into a dock. By the time they got me loaded, I had about 15 minutes left on my DOT-14. They have a empty lot, overflow lot, about 3 miles down the road. Went down there, shut down, did my 10, and moved on. That was rough. It was a little it was extremely frustrating. You kind of feel like you're getting screwed over, but stuff like that's going to happen. Once I had that load delivered, I was able to string together 4 or 5 real short loads, 200, 250 mile loads that were within 45 miles of each other. Pickup spots from 45 miles or so from where I was dropping off. Spent a couple days doing 2 a days, pick up and deliver. And the nice thing about that is if you're really, really pushing those loads, you can string them really close, and you can turn days like that into $1,100, $1,200 days if the loads line up just right. If not, you might do 2 loads one day, a load the next day, 2 loads the day following that. You guys get the idea. Sometimes that's what you got to do. It's always nice to be able to get that 700, 800, 900 mile run where you don't have to mess with going in and shipping and receiving and live loads and live offloads. You just you pick it up, you get loaded, or you pick up a preloaded trailer and you hit the road. You go. You got a day and a half where you don't have to do any kind of stopping. Those days are great. They're easy. And while those loads pay, tend to pay real good, it's hit and miss. Those loads might not be available. So, string together those. Oops, let's turn that down. String together some of them smaller loads, and you can make it work. I ended up finishing out that week at about 5,800 gross revenue, considering with all the delays that I had and I don't want to say fighting traffic, but it's traffic wasn't too bad. I got lucky there, but fighting some of the obstacles, it's it was salvageable. It was enough for me to feel like I had accomplished what I needed to do. Obviously, I was still frustrated, and when you're frustrated, you make mistakes. So I booked a load. wasn't an outstanding load. Obviously, it was still profitable, or I wouldn't have booked it. That took me back over to Green Bay, shut my truck down, dropped it off at Master Fleet in Green Bay. I had my PM and annual done. Ended up having my brakes done, and I went home for 4 days. And it was good. Sometimes you got to take that, especially when you have a rough week. Go home, get your head right, get yourself in the right space, so that you're not making decisions based on aggravation. So, it's more than salvageable. And for me, unfortunately, the problems continued once I came back out on the road. First load out of the house was real good. I picked up in Green Bay, took it down to Ohio. That load was great. Dropped it off, got to my next pickup, and found out that load had been canceled. Apparently, it had been canceled within like 45 minutes of me getting there. So, a little frustrated with that. That was a really good load that I ended up having to go about 150 miles to go pick up. situation like that, I was so close. They gave me the NVU, vehicle, no vehicle used. So that, you know, it salvaged a little bit of it. At least weren't running those miles for nothing. But then it was a scramble again. So you know, I immediately got back on the load board. I was able to string together 3 different loads over 2 days. That worked out pretty well. I think I did about $1,700 total revenue on those 3 loads. And then from there, once I had those 3 loads booked, I was able to kind of plan ahead again. I generally don't like planning out more than 2 or 3 loads, but if they're real short loads like that, I always want to have a backup plan. So yeah, that's pretty much how it went. Once that was done, I was able to. I actually ran into Greg. We were both delivering in Cincinnati and Columbus. We're both delivering in Columbus. We're about 10 miles apart. You know, spent 10-15 minutes on the load board. There happened to be a couple of good loads that were headed down to Kentucky. So we booked those. We're able to run virtually side by side down there. It was nice to be able to have some conversation over to CB, and you know, I shut down, did our 10-hour breaks after that, and you know, grab breakfast in the morning and head out. Oh, sorry, my allergies are wicked bad today. Anyway, so you know, we're able to salvage the week. I got one more load to do before I run out of my DOT 70. So I'm gonna get a load that gets me within an hour or 2 of the house, and have my wife come pick me up, and I'm gonna go take a 34-48 at home. You know, see the wife and kids, and get my head right again. Come back out and run hard. So that's just the way I like to run. Well, I shouldn't say it's the way I like to run. It's the only way I know how to run. You know, it's just my brain works that way. I don't know if it's the soldier in me or not, but it's I just time to get stuff done. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in and checking it out. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments. You know, hit the like button, whatever you guys want to do. You know, if you guys have more questions about, you know, ways to kind of salvage a rough go, put them in the comment section, man. I'd love to answer your questions. Hopefully I can persuade you guys to, you know, if you're interested in doing this, and persuade you guys to give it a shot, give it a go. Or if you're already doing it, maybe I can steer you away from some of the mistakes that I've made. And believe me, I've made plenty. And as we all do, you know, I mean, only been an owner-operator for 13 months. And believe me, I've made plenty of mistakes. I've backed myself into a corner a couple times. You know, I went into areas with a plan, and the plan didn't work out the way I thought it was going to, and then I was scrambling to put stuff together, and it was a difficult salvage. You know, the last 2 weeks I've run into issues, and I've been able to solve and turn them into very, very solid weeks. I don't know if I don't know if it's just the experience that I've had now with having some bad luck in the beginning, but it does. You know, you can't learn how to get yourself out of a bad situation until you're in that bad situation. You know, guys can give you all the advice in the world, but until you're actually in that situation, you know, at that point, up to that point, it's all speculation. So if you guys find yourself in a rough situation, you know, you're out here and you're running, you're a couple weeks in, or you're a couple months in, and find yourself in a situation that you haven't been in before, come back to one of these posts and or one of these videos and throw something in the comment section. You know, I'll shoot you an email and see if I can't help you out. All right, guys. Anyway, I'm gonna take off. They should be pretty close to having me unloaded. Oh, I'm sorry. And then I'm gonna go pick up my next load and work my way back to Wisconsin. So, thanks for checking in, guys. Don't forget to check out my buddy Greg. What Greg Rolls On. He's got a lot of really good information. I still watch his videos. He posts a lot more than I do, and he's a little more detailed and descriptive in the stuff that goes on. So he can probably help you guys out. If you guys are thinking about doing this, I'll give you some contact information. Nathan Green over at SFI, he's been outstanding. He's actually working with another friend of mine, who hopefully will be ready to pull the trigger in another 6 to 8 weeks. And he's got a few things to get in order. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having him out here. It's gonna be great. Hopefully we can run into each other a little more often than Greg and I do, just because we kind of run in the same areas. But yeah, thanks guys. You guys have a good one, and keep her upright and between the lines.